Troy, it is such a pleasure to meet you. You've been one of my Chilli heroes for a long time. I know that probably isn't too comfortable to hear, but
how much I owe you some money for that one, man. No,
honestly, I've known about you for such a long time, long before I started my YouTube channel, and your Chilli, the 7-part Primo, which we will talk about, is my favorite super art. It's painful, hurts a lot, but it's an awesome relationship. Yeah. So I don't know if you wanted to introduce yourself a little bit, just a little bit of background, who you are.
Well, yeah. I mean, first of all, thanks. I appreciate that, the kindness and the belief in my pepper and the love for it. Everybody, it's humbling. It's something that you just kind of like pick out of the ether. Like when you're making hot sauce or you're making peppers, you're crossing peppers, you're just grabbing it out of the cosmos, and then people pay their hard-earned money to buy it or to love it, to share it, to bring it into their life, to bring them happiness.
I think you're being a little bit humble there. There's a lot of work that went into that, Chilli, I'm sure, and
it's a lot. It's a lot of work. It takes a little luck, a little know-how, and a whole lot of passion to get something done. It's a long explanation for me just saying I'm grateful for you enjoying the pepper, and, what it means to you.
And it's not just me. There's millions of others that are absolutely loving the 7-part Primo. And if I can get even one more viewer today to go and try it out, then I've done my job here, I think. Yeah, but before we go into the peppers, sorry, I'm calling them peppers because you're calling them peppers. But before we get into that too much, there's a lot more to you as well. I heard that you're in a band, or you're still in a band. I know you have been in the past. We're kind of like on a moratorium sometimes, It's like we were jamming back in the day, back in the 90s, and did pretty well. We made Classic Rock Magazine, which is over there on your side of the pond. And this band called Santeria, it's like this southern psychedelic stoner rock band, kind of like Soundgarden meets like Pink Floyd-ish and a little Swampadelic. That's where I got the hot sauce name from. We used to call our music Swampadelic. And we did pretty good. We did some tours, we put out some albums, and at some point our drummer got hit by an 18-wheeler head on, broke just about every bone in his body, which is a pun intended, a hard break for a drummer. And I ended up, I had met a good girl, Kara, she's my wife now, but I had met a good girl, and she just got tired of seeing me in my underwear drinking beer on the couch with an afro when I had hair. So now you just got rid of the afro, and now you're still doing on the couch.
I'm still doing the same thing. No. She's like, no, I think you'd be good in school. So you can blame her for the pepper, because I started school in nursing, and I'm getting off subject, but I worked in the horticulture department as a work study student because I had a grant, and they kind of give you a little job. And I was working in the horticulture department, which wasn't my major. My major was nursing, and picking the brains with the horticulturist across the hallway about crossing peppers and emasculation and, just organic growing, and just for the love of doing it. Because what can I do at this point that's rock and roll in my backyard that's legal? And I missed it. I missed the thrill of it all, the excitement, the danger, there's a lot of parallels between the music and the pepper industry, or peppers in general. But yeah, so we still kind of get together every now and then and do something, and we've got the music's out there, and it's great. But my buddy Deej, the lead singer, he kind of started doing his own thing, which is like psychedelic dobro kind of blues. And I produced a couple of his albums. We mixed and produced them and put them out on our record label. We have a small independent label. It doesn't really license anybody else but ourselves. We just kind of put out our albums. It's just so we could do that. And Quentin Tarantino picked up one of his songs for Django Unchained. Got a little bit of mailbox money on that, and I wish he'd pick up more of them. But it's like, so it was all done just out of love and fun. And it's my first love. music. I still can hear a song, it'll make me cry, I mean, maybe I'm a softie, but it's like music just moves me. I've got my foot in the music side of things, and I wouldn't have met Kara. I mean, I wouldn't, like I said, if I wouldn't have. Let me tell you a quick little story if you got a second.
Yeah.
I worked in music stores, and then this crazy kind of like cuckoo-eyed guy, musician, would come in and put up flyers. His name was Deej, and I'd give him my tapes, because at the house I was like doing my own little thing with the acoustic and 4-track, and I gave him these tapes. He's like, man, there's pretty good stuff on here. And we just got together, and eventually asked me to join his band, and I brought in a different element to what they were doing, which was more progressive and like great, but I brought a power chord, if anything, and some melodies. So, started playing, but I had short hair, like prep kind of hair, And Deej and I went to my dad's one day and saw a picture on the wall of me when I was like probably in 4th grade or something, and I had a big afro, red, like 1970s. Ronald McDonald. My name is Ronald Troy Primo. So I was called Ronald, with red hair, with buck teeth, with freckles. Kids are brutal, man. So as soon as I was old enough to cut my hair, and mom wouldn't like send me to school with afro, I did, but for that picture that was taken, that was me. And Deej goes, Mr. Ronnie, who is that? It's like, that's Troy. He goes, dude, can you do that? I was like, why would I? Why would I want to? He's like, do it, dude, do it. He kept telling me that, do it every day. So my hair I became this freaking rock and roller with an afro, man. It looked like Jimi Hendrix or Art Garfunkel or something. And it was such an insecurity for me, but I owned it. I became like Primo. My last name's Primeaux. They started calling me, lead guitar, Primo. So it's like slash, Primo. Primo, shortened version, easy to pronounce, out of state. So I became this alter, not like I didn't think that deep about being an alter ego, but it became this kind of thing for me.
Your stage persona.
Stage persona. And this chick came to the show, and saw me. It's like, man, that guy doesn't give a shit. He's real. I mean, he's like, he really, and I mean, gradually I hung out with that girl, and there was a lot of circumstances, and, we were friends for a long time. And, I brought her a kitty cat from the recording studio that needed a home. And, I'd eventually go visit the kitty cat. And eventually I ended up on that girl's couch, and then in her bed, and then I married her, so 20 years later. So the music led to your life you have now in a lot of ways. The music, and having Hudson, and having like the Pepper, going back to school. I mean, you can start adding up the what ifs and all the connections, and it's just crazy. Everybody's got that kind of story in their life, but
I don't think quite like that, but yeah.
I mean, there's always connections that, what if I would have done this? Or if I wouldn't have done that, then I wouldn't be here. And it could drive you bonkers just thinking about all these things. But at the end of the day, just by going with my passion and exaggerating something that I was insecure about and owning it and just being comfortable with it, led me to where I am. So,
well, I could talk to you all day about the stuff in your past and all that, but I know that the people watching are definitely going to want to know a lot more information about the time that you did go to university. Now, I believe it was Lafayette, right?
Lafayette, ULL, University of Louisiana at Lafayette. They've changed their name so many times, but that's the current one. But
so that was where you were when you discovered the 7-part Primo. I mean, so you talked a little bit.
It, but that was
where you created it. It's always a tough one. How do you say? I mean, it's not like you invented it, but you created it. It's
created it. Yeah, I mean, just a little help from the cosmos and the
So when you did that, that wasn't your first cross? I'm guessing you must have had a few.
No, that was it. That was it.
So if I remember, well, from the work I've done on this, and obviously what I know about the 7-pot Primo, it's a cross between a Trinidad 7-pot and a Naga. Is it a Nagamaric?
Yep.
Nagamaric. Nagamarics are a great chili, by the way. It's
oh man, it's exceptional. It's still
massive,
one of my favorites.
massive trees in there. So you cross those two, and was that because those are the two that you thought, well, these are both hot chilies. Let's see what we can get from it.
Yeah, pretty much. It was pretty naive. I was a student. I wasn't a horticulture student yet. I was still a nursing student, and just picking the brain of the professors across the hallway from my job, which I was, I had a work-study job. I was fortunate to have a full paid grant to go to school because I was late in life and was broke, and I'm thankful that I had that opportunity. But I was working in an office, and across, I was a nursing student doing great at nursing, but something in my soul just didn't feel right. I wanted to nurture things, just not necessarily human beings. But I passed all my classes and clinicals, and at some point I just switched. But I was working in that department, and I had obtained the Naga Morich seeds like 2005-ish from a grower.
That's a good question. It started at that stage. It was 2005 that you did the cross, right?
Right. So there's a guy selling seeds for his website, right? And he sold I don't know how many sets. I think it was 10 sets of seeds to fund his website. And most for $40 for 10 seeds. It might have been, I can't remember.
I don't think people realize how lucky they have it today with how cheap seeds can get. Because I remember when the Butchalokia, when that was a thing back in 2006, when it hit the world records. Oh man, you're paying £2 a seed, easy. Or $2 a seed.
$40 for 10 seeds. My wife was like, "Why do you want that?" I'm like, "Why not? It's supposedly one of the hottest chilies in the world." And people might have been growing it in the States, but it was just kind of probably just backyard people not sharing them. I had never heard of it. I was on the chili pepper forum, and but I obtained a set, and I'm thinking I was about one of the only ones in North America to have a set of those seeds. And I ended up selling Naga seeds on eBay. I grew it out. I was able to grow it out, sell seeds. And about that time, I made the cross with the 7-pot Primo, 7-pot came from.
Which 7-pot? Because I mean, obviously there's a lot of different 7-pots that you get out there today. 7-pot habanero or whatever. The 7-pot that you're talking about, do you know what type?
I don't know. It looked like a Maruga. It didn't have a stinger. It was just a regular 7-pot. It looked like a Congo, kind of like the old Congo peppers.
Those Congo chilies are hot.
It was round, and it had some warts, but not a lot. Not as many as Primo today or anything, but it was obtained from Dr. Dennis Woolard's friend, who was also a professor that went to Trinidad, and he got it in a market from an old lady vendor. So I don't know what was DNA, open pollinated, whatnot. I don't know, but I did conduct the proper emasculation crossing technique between that peppers.
That's the method you used. You took the stamen off and
correct.
Grabbed. Okay, and which one was
I say no one does, but
well, I do it. That's the way I do it. That's the only way to do it. I see so many people saying, "Oh no, I just rub the two flowers together."
You can't quantify your cross like that, man. You can't in that other guy that the other guy out east. I saw a video of him doing that, and I'm like,
that's not how you cross. That's just called open pollination. That's called luck of the draw.
Yeah. I mean, you don't know if that flower, if a bee went there before you. You don't know if that plant has self-pollinated before you showed up. You can't quantify your cross. Therefore, you can't say this is the mother and this is the father. You can't.
Which were the mother and the father in that cross, in the 7-pot Primo, the original one?
So it was the 7-pot from Trinidad, the seeds obtained from a professor friend, and the Naga.
So which one was with the father? Which one was mother? Do you remember?
Oh, I don't remember. Okay. I can't remember. I want to say the Naga, but it was I didn't keep any notes on all this stuff. I should have. If I do it over again, I say that. I also say, oh,
can
man,
lightning strike in the same place twice?
Yeah, I would do that. I'd go for a patent. I'd do the trademark. I'd do all this stuff. And then, but that's not what I'm about. No. I'm not about that. There was some guys online recently saying like, the problem, I'm getting ahead of ourselves, but the problem of getting Primo seeds in abroad, internationally, with customs issues and all that stuff. And they want to keep the Primo going in their own kind of seed bank way and have criteria. And I'm reading this and I'm thinking, well, it's not really great for business, but I want it to carry on. I want them to be able to get it. They can't get it. I want it to outlive me, and I want people to enjoy it. It's not about money. So, you need money to keep things going, right?
The unfortunate curse of life, right?
Yeah. But, so, I forgot.
So we'll carry on with that. So then you took those two, you created, you crossed them over. And
grew
how many did you, so you grew the seeds out from that, and then how many plants did you grow out from that point?
Well, after the cross, I guess people know this that are watching, but you grow out both plants, you conduct the emasculation. I always pinched off a flower from what I would deem the father. And if you're gentle with touching the stigma and you're not causing an abortion, but if you're 20% success rate is doing pretty good. So I got pretty lucky, on the cross. But
I find it quite challenging with the chinense.
Yeah, you have drop off. There's all kind of factors with pollen sterility.
1 in 5, I'm happy.
Yeah, that's good. That's
quite
really
high.
good. So if you do it like too late in the day and it's too hot, you got like pollen sterility. There's all kind of factors. But anyway, you got to do it early, and I'm maybe getting too geeked out on it with talking about it, but
no, believe me, my audience are going to love hearing about this. So.
Well, I've done a lot more since then, and I've gotten better at it. So
maybe have a look. I'll send you a link after this. I did a video on crossing, which I took the approach you're taking. So it's cool. I did it very specifically. The one difference probably is I do remove the flower. I take the pollen from the donor plant, and I'll put the pollen in a little container that I'll then use to pollinate multiple flowers that I will pick the leaves off.
No, that's good. That's. You could replicate it that way. You can do.
This is it. It's just to try and get the best success by having the exact source plants. But so okay. So you had that's F0. Then that's when you've got that cross. Then you you grew out the seed.
So you grow out. Each parent. Then you cross them, and then you tag that flower. You remove the petals on it. The bees won't mess with it at this point. Let's just say it takes, right? You got it marked off. Save the seeds from that pod. You plant it. And it comes up.
How many did you grow out in the F1 before we get to the exciting bit here?
There was only like maybe a handful, man. I think there was like 10 maybe. It's like. And
how different were the plants? I'm guessing there was one plant that was like, wait, there's something interesting.
They were some were different. Some had a little bit more of the Naga vibe, and the one I chose had a stinger, So
it already had the stinger.
Yeah, it wasn't as pronounced as it is now, but it had a stinger, and it was warty, but not as warty. I've kind of like selectively done more of that, stinger, more warty. Actually, to get ahead of myself, I've selected more for stingers over the years. I've noticed one thing that happened when I did that. My SHU went down, at least on that kind of like fork in the road. So
I think the gnarliness is what really, the gnarly, the knurled bit, the crinkled bit of the plant of the chili is quite a good indicator of the heat level.
Yeah,
more so than the tail. The tail looks awesome.
Isn't that weird?
In the crossing side of it, people don't realize how much goes into it. It's not luck. Sometimes there's an element of luck. There absolutely is.
There's a lot of like. There's been a lot. Well, I cut you off, man. I'm sorry, but
no, it's good. I'm just going to say that there is some luck involved. Of course there is, because you're hoping for something. Not every cross is going to give you something that's exciting, right?
Right.
But there's a lot of practice and a lot of know-how that goes into it as well, right?
And it's what gets me with a lot of people that say they cross stuff is like, look, if you don't cross it, just don't say it.
Yeah.
You know what?
It's not going to mean anything less.
It still means a lot to be a great natural selective breeder. To be able to take something and naturally select it, even if it's an accident that happened, and you can grow it out, and because just because you crossed it don't mean that it's over with.
No.
Because, I mean, I'm still freaking
that's where I was going with this. Like you just mentioned about the selective breeding, right? I mean, the crossing is the first part. The next part is now stabilizing it, right?
That's hard.
But while you're stabilizing it, you're doing selective breeding, because you're not just stabilizing one plant. You're going to keep growing out multiple plants and choosing the best of those, getting the qualities that you want. And like now you say, I mean, this was 2004, 2005, right? And
five-ish. So I don't
15
even know
years later, and you're still stabilizing, and you're not stabilizing. You're selective breeding, right?
Every now and then there'll be some recessive traits or like something reverting, and you got to get that one out of here. And even though your filleo is, I don't even know what we're at, 12, 13, 14, whatever. We did some multiples when I was at university at the greenhouse, and that's rough. So if someone says, I get two crops a year in my greenhouse, I'm like, are you in South America? Because it's hard. I mean, it is. If you have the right lighting and the right temperature, you can do anything in fertilizer. But it was hard for me, even in Louisiana, to keep things cool, because greenhouses don't have air conditioning. At least ours don't. They have heaters. But in the heat of the in the summer, just keeping them going in the greenhouse, and in the winter, you don't have your daylight hours, your sunlight. So, they're just kind of wanting to stay in suspended animation. I know I'm getting off subject, but it getting back to the pepper, it takes a lot of work to selectively breed. And my buddy Gary Montcalm, I mean, he does it. We do, over 100 plants open pollinated, and to this day. And
different varieties, or do you just grow your Primo?
Just Primo out in the middle of nowhere, man. Like no plant, no peppers.
So no need to isolate. That's my biggest challenge. I love growing lots of varieties.
Look,
so
never say never, but a couple years back, not too long ago, I had like so many varieties in the backyard with bug netting, all that stuff, and
it's painful.
Pain in the butt, man. Then you get like, you open the door up when you have all those little bags and stuff for disease, and aphids find a way in.
That's it. Yeah, as soon as an aphid's there, it's just like home for it at that point.
And they're not like, I don't know if aphids kind of like messing with cross pollination, but they definitely
the growth, I think, quite a bit.
Yeah, meaning they're not going to like be like a bee. Bees are what you got to watch, So yeah, we do that out there, and we selectively breed every year. One year I was doing this at my mom's, and I had similar number of plants, and they lived by a bayou, and they had a massive flood, like a freaking 500-year flood, and the water came up and it flooded all of them. And I'm like, okay, no seeds this year, buddy, And I had some break glass in case of emergency seeds for replanting the next year, but after 7 days, something happened. There were like a couple of handfuls of plants that survived sitting in water. So I was like, I'm going to put that in the gene pool, and I've incorporated it in.
I've done that. I've done that myself. And it's something I think more people should do. Stress your plant, not just because people say stress the plant so that it can get hotter. Right. That's part of it. But what you're trying to do really is find out which ones are going to survive. You want your strongest plants, right? Yeah,
bigger. And, it's like when people, or maybe it's a good time to kind of open the door, but when people say Primo or Reaper, man, I thought they're the same thing. This one tastes better, or this one tastes different, or look, whatever happened, there's a fork in the road. You got to selectively breed and keep your stuff going. I know how I do mine. I don't know how he does his, but you can have, from what I hear, a lot of people say they like the Primo for vigor and some people say they like the flavor, but I don't know. I mean, I can't tell you last time I had a Reaper.
I honestly, I've grown Reaper a few times. I've yet to have a Reaper plant that I'm excited about. Yeah, they're hot, but I don't get the tail as much. Some of them, I'll get the odd tail here and there. I've been selectively growing, well, not selectively, I've been isolating 7 Prop Primos now for a little while. I do want to get some of your seeds because I don't know the source of mine. I'm not 100% happy with where I got them from originally. Yeah. They're good and the heat is there, but I've seen some of the pictures on your site and I want that gnarly, really crinkled up look, which mine don't have. Yeah. They have a great tail though. So
I've seen some pictures come out, UK and stuff, and people it's like they're really happy to be growing 7 Prop Primo. And I'm looking at the pictures, I'm like, I don't want to burst their bubble, but I'm like, we need to figure out how to get the OG stuff over there, and do it in a way that I know you're growing. If it makes you happy, that's great. But look, we can improve that and try to get you.
Well, let's work together. I've got a seed store. I sell seeds. If you want to sort something out, we can do that.
You need to hook my Primo peeps over there up, man.
Absolutely. I want more people to grow it. It is a fantastic chili. It really is. It's one of the nicest flavored as well, is as hot as it is. A lot of these super hots that are coming out today, I mean, there's some amazing ones. I don't know if you've tried the Primotalii.
I haven't had it. Johnny.
That's the hottest chili I've ever had in my entire life.
Johnny told me it was probably the hottest. I want to see it tested. I wonder what.
I'd love to see it. Yeah, I think there's. Sorry, I was going to say that I think there's some element of it that. So obviously, with chilies, the capsaicin, it's not just one type of capsaicin. There's 3 or 4 different markers there. And I think
we're on the same wavelength here, man. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And I think there's something in there that's maybe a bit of a, what do you call it? A hybrid sort of thing going on. Some sort of interesting thing. Because honestly, the pain, it doesn't taste great. But my living, it was agony. I did it on a live stream, and I couldn't talk for 10 minutes. It was not great.
Well, Johnny told me it was the hottest pot he had. And
it's Johnny Scoville, right?
Johnny Scoville. It's got my name in it, so that's good. So I'm just I mean, who doesn't like to see their name in lights? But I think. Without testing it, I don't know. But I know the Fatalii has some dihydrocapsaicin, the alkaloids. If people don't know what the pepper alkaloids are, there's several, but you can test for the major ones like at Southwest Biolabs and Las Cruces. You can do an HPLC and do an upcharge for the capsaicinoid testing. And it'll break down dihydrocapsaicin, which is the one everybody kind of knows. And, when people say capsaicin and you're looking at a SHU, it's really a broader picture. There's all these subclassifications in there that get lumped in as capsaicin. But all those little alkaloids change the way we perceive heat. So, like an annuum, it hits you in the face and it burns and it's gone. Chinense is creeps up and it lasts longer. Ricotta, you got pubescents have a different vibe too.
I don't like the heat. I can handle the heat of a Chinense, but the pubescents,
it's weird.
It's a different type of heat.
I got a gut bomb on a Ricotta, and I was almost embarrassed to talk about it. But it was they're like, a Ricotta? I was like, man, I don't know if it was the morning, I just didn't have my stomach primed up, but it was like a knife in my gut for forever. But it's a weird burn, and I don't know what alkaloid that is specifically. But I do know John Hard, K-John, K-John fame, it told me that he had the Fatalii tested once and it had a lot of dihydrocapsaicin. And surprisingly, it tested a lot lower than everybody thought. So
it's about 800, isn't it? About 800,000.
Yeah, I think it was 700 or 800. It was really low. And it ended up maybe even lower than that. I can't remember what amount he told me, but I was kind of shocked by it. But it ended up it's a deceiving thing. It's like the big mustard mama, the big black mama, all those peppers that I've done. they don't test that high. You know, 1.1, 1.2. I mean, high enough, but
Big Black Mama is that's painful. I did that on a live stream as well. That one, it's like a hammer to the back of the throat.
Yeah, that's the battery acid dihydrocapsaicin. Yeah. So when people tell you, and there's a lot of controversy about the mustard pods and all that, and what looks like a mustard mama these days, but I've never seen one test that high, and I'd like to see one test that high, like, you know, be it Pepper X or whatever, you know, mustard pod. Because I mean, I'm just straight up. Look, dude, I have to see the data. You know, you can call up Southwest Biolabs right now and say you want to look at Primo's data. Have them call me. You can look at it.
Well, on that note, so I mean, let's go back to that, because I got a ton of questions for you that I don't want you to drop off before I get to them.
No,
You have had them. You have had it tested. When did you get that tested? Was that when it was at F7?
I can't remember, man.
Because it tested over 1.5 million, right?
Yeah, it was 1.5. The first one was 1.47, you know, something, and it beat the Butch T. But Guinness didn't award me because, I mean, I didn't go through the process. Guinness is
you didn't pay the big money that Guinness was asking for.
Yeah, it's weird. If they approach you, I think it's free. But if you approach them, you pay. And that amount, I know Ed is, I don't know what Ed, I don't know if Ed said it or I heard Ed say it.
Pepper Joe was talking all
20
about
grand, it's 10 grand, 20 grand. I don't know how much it is, but it's supposedly a lot of money. And then there's a reoccurring like revenue stream that if you want to get them at the Guinness representatives at your event, you know, that's a fee. If you use their logo on your website, that's a fee, from my understanding. So I didn't go about that route, and it beat Butch T. And then shortly after, there was a guy named Ed Curry that came out with the Carolina Reaper, and I'm like, this looks a lot like Primo.
Okay, well, let's get on to that, because we keep skirting this.